Everybody, thank you for tuning in. My name is Steve Gomez. I am user number 3 in the Trade Ideas system. Before we get started with our CEO, Dan, I just want to do a quick shout out. Can everybody see the screen, and can anybody hear the voice that's talking to you right now? Just want to make sure we've got good. All right, thank you, Joan, Dennis. Become very good. All right. Thank you for showing it. Thank you, Kathy. Good. So we've got a good start. As usual, our webinars will be recorded. There will be an email sent out with some additional information to follow up after today's webinar. Before we get started, I do want to launch a quick poll question, and it's a very simple question. We just like to know who we're talking to here. And the question is this: do you currently have an online brokerage account? So I'm going to go ahead and set that poll out there, and we're going to wait for maybe 70% of you basically to give us a quorum so we can get a good feel for the poll question, which is, do you have an online brokerage account that is active right now? All right, we've got a quorum, 80% voted. Looks like the majority of people here, and I do mean the majority, we're talking in the 96th percentile, basically have an online active brokerage account. So that's a good thing. All right, I'll just let you guys know that was the results for the most part. And so without further ado, I want to turn it over to Dan Merkin, whom I've known since 1998. Dan started the company you're going to be hearing about, Trade Ideas, back in 2002, 2003, and I was one of the original beta users. Therefore, that's why I'm number 3 in the system. So I've watched this company grow along the way. I'm now an integral part of the company as well. So I'm here to help Dan in this webinar and kind of explain what we do. So without further ado, let me introduce the CEO of Trade Ideas, Mr. Dan Merkin.
Steve, thank you very much for the gracious introduction. Steve and I have known each other for a very long time, and one of the things that makes this company special is that most of the people on the business end of the company, the people that deal with the consumers and the people that create the requirements and test the software, are all traders themselves. We're all users of the product, and we feel that that's one of the big things that distinguishes us from virtually every other vendor in the fintech space. Very excited to do this webinar for you. Hopefully there's going to be some things that are going to blow your mind, because it's probably never been a more exciting stock market. And part of it is to shatter some of the misconceptions that people often have. So before we get started, a quick disclaimer. Trade Ideas is not a registered investment advisor. All the information that you will hear from myself and Steve is for educational and informational purposes only, and nothing should be construed as a solicitation to buy or sell any kind of security. All right, well, let's rock and roll.
Did you get your mute? Yeah, coming in and out. Don't hear you at the moment, Mr. Dan. There, I think we got you. That's better.
How about now? Hello?
Okay, you're back. You are back.
I don't know what, well, you know what happened? We were working on the sound before, and there was an issue. It's weird because of, look, I'm on the,
I think we lost you again, Dan. Hang on one second, guys. Dan, we can't hear you. Faintly. Darn. Having some technical issues here with Dan's microphone. Nope, still nothing. I hear you for a moment and then it goes away. Yeah, I hear like a faint hiss and then it goes away. Not sure what to tell you. Well, while he's searching for, are you back? One of those days. Okay. Yeah, it's like I hear you for a second and then it goes away. Yes, attendees will receive accordingly. I hear
Do you
you
hear
for the
me
second.
now?
I hear
Hello.
you now. Whatever you did is good. You're good now.
Okay. How much did
Okay.
you hear me? Where did
Not
I?
very much.
Okay. Did we do this? How did we?
We did the disclaimer. Yes, we did the disclaimer,
We did the
and we were
display.
yeah, we were about ready to show you coming from Texas in the younger age.
Okay. Goodness gracious, ladies and gentlemen, please excuse the technical difficulties. I blame somebody. Um, okay.
You're
I've
good.
been a successful investor, and Steve, by the way, let me know when my mic dies again because it's not
We'll do.
apparent. It's not apparently that evident. So I've been a successful investor for a very, very long time. This story is from 1996. I was 26 years old, and I'm 46 right now. And so what you're getting here is a combination of technology that's been done by people who just have been there and done that, and the whole time we never went away from the thing that we were doing. In other words, we never left investing for yourself. The company, Trade Ideas, we've been around for 13 years, and we now have a game changer that we're going to show you, a complete game changer technology that happens to also be the fastest growing subscription-based financial service in the U.S. In fact, this is what our consumer growth looks like right now. So you're at the right place, and when I demonstrate what we're going to show you, you're going to see why. There's never been a better time to be an engaged market participant. So Steve,
Yes.
one of the reasons why I asked people if they had a brokerage account, because if they do, then this will not be as, what's the word, hokey pokey or whatever. This is actually my own E-Trade account. And one of the things that I do, and I'll get to this a little bit later, in our community, I interact with our customers all the time, subscribers, non-subscribers, and show people that I myself am actually doing the thing that I vent. And one of the ways that I started this year was I created a $30,000 account in E-Trade, and this is it, and I'm trading that account up. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm showing people how it can be done. But the thing that's specifically about this slide and why it's so important, this could be, you know, Steve, if there was any slide to do, this could be just the one slide. So yesterday, was it? Yeah, it was yesterday,
Yep.
right? So yesterday, I happened to have been in this stock, DFFN, and I had bought it towards the close of the day before. So one of the first things I want to dispel is the notion of day trading, swing trading, or anything like that. It's one of the biggest problems that I believe in modern investing is this desire to label things. Okay, day trading is a word that got created because you had an environment where commissions and liquidity was sufficient enough for you to be able to position quickly so you can get in and out the same day if you didn't like it. It wasn't specifically aimed at, like, it didn't need to become a label. It was just a description. But now people say, what do you want to do? I want to be a day trader. That's a mistake. you don't want to be a trader. You want to be a day trader. You want to be a successful investor. Some of the best successful investors, like Warren Buffett, stay in things a very long time, and it's not to be laughed at. You just have to get in at the right price. So what I'm showing you here is I happen to have bought DFFN towards the close at $3.93. But it was about 45 minutes before the close, and then it ran up to like $4.70 into the close, so I was up pretty decent in it already. And then the next day it gapped up, and this is right around like after it opened and traded higher. And I put this in to show people, like, here I'm about to start selling this. I ended up selling this DFFN at $11.62. And this is the thing that I kind of want to really have people focus on, that the notion of percentage gains and what the mainstream financial media wants to put into your mind is that something like 3% or 5% is a good return. Well, they want to do that because they want to set the bar very low so that it's okay for you to think, well, I'm going to give my manager the money. He made 7%, you know, and I just paid him some fees. This whole game for fees has been around literally as long as, you know, brokerage has been around, and it kind of gets moved into different ways. You know, you saw some of it on Wolf of Wall Street and some of it on the movie Wall Street.
Wall Street, yep.
Wall Street.
1 and 2.
Wall Street. And on the Cab to Wall Street, there's also a great movie. Boiler Room. It's another one. They're all kind of part and parcel of the same concept, where the industry does try to screw people over. It does. That does happen. And one of the biggest ways that it does it is this constant reiteration of the fact that you can't make money in the market because you're stupid. So what I really wanted to do is I wanted to showcase and demonstrate that, no, this is not magic. This is done by regular people like myself, and I was not the only one to do it, and we'll talk about all that more. But look at these things. Look at these percentages, okay? So this is what happened, and then I'm going to show you the next slide, yesterday into the close. So I took that DFFN profit, and after taking that profit, by the way, this is what I still had at the close going in. So look at this BIOC. If you guys have software where you can see what the prices are, you can look to where some of this ended up. Look at my entry prices: 99 cents in BIOC, 226 at IMUC, 164 at XGTI. This is some serious percentages, okay? And here is where I am today into the close. And what I'm showing here is that it's not complicated. My sizing lets me get in and out of things quickly, and this is E-Trade. I'm specifically not trying to be a Robinhood trader or some guy that, you know, wants to trade for half a penny per side and, you know, a total of 1 cent for execution. Commission is not the game. You know, the game is successful percent returns. You know, look at this example. Tomorrow, I'll give you one to watch, that RNVA, a 9-cent stock. See, what's happening here, guys, is this. The structure of the market, and Steve, we'll talk a little bit about that later also, as it relates to this thing called the float and how things move, is really becoming such that the hedge funds and the algos, quote unquote, they are not in this area where you see me invest. They are afraid of it. They don't know what to do with it. To them, it's like, you know, if it doesn't have 1 billion shares trading every day, they don't even look at it. But in terms of alpha, which is unusual percent returns, okay, in a day, you're not going to get anything better than the things that we are going to show you today in this webinar. So that's what I wanted to start with. I mean, look at what is possible. And Steve will tell you, I'm not a genius. Very handsome, but not a genius.
You're not a genius.
So let's talk about, you know, for you, ladies and gentlemen, that are in this webinar, we do something kind of interesting and different. One of the ways we on-ramp people is instead of just saying, hey, subscribe, subscribe, subscribe. I mean, we are a subscription as a service company, but that's not how we get people involved at all. And we are still the fastest growing subscription service in the US, so don't find yourself too surprised if in a little while you are a subscriber. That happens to a lot of people. But the way everyone gets started and interacts is we have a completely free subscriber or non-subscriber trading room where you can interact with Barry Anderson, who is our lead trading room moderator, and I myself. I also come in there. Steve is there from time to time. It's a community that works around support, idea sharing, and meritocracy, and mutual elevation, positive sum gaming. Everybody's there not to gloat over, oh, look at me, look at this, or talk about Donald Trump or any other politics. It's fun, captivating, there's a great flow, and it's free. You're really not going to get too many places like that where the situation is this vibrant and the community is completely free. And one of the other things, Steve, that I think kind of is what fuels our growth, is that through this trading room, which is an Omnovia trading room, what happens is you also get to see a lot of best practices of how people use the software, people that are proficient, what they say and what they share, and so your learning curve gets diminished exponentially. Because again, while you're watching, you don't really have to do it. You can just kind of observe, look on your own brokerage platform. We, as a community and as a software product, we link with everybody's trading platform. So the other thing is part of our education program is we have 4 webinars where we talk about what's going on in our software. This webinar is part of our webinar series where we do exchanges, but usually on Wednesday we have what's called the Q&A webinar, where myself, Brad Williams, and sometimes Steve as well, we talk about the software, what are the things that are working right now, because that's where we should be focused, and how to best utilize this data. So that's the way you get started. The thing that changes the game for trade ideas and what makes us different from every other vendor is that we have the only consumer-facing artificial intelligence right now. So I'm sure everyone has heard about IBM's Watson. Steve, you've heard about Watson.
Mm-hmm.
Can you use Watson?
No. Well, apparently it's expensive. You can hook up to it, but it's expensive.
Yeah, well, you can hook up to it. I don't know what he's going to do for you. Maybe show you that you read like shit, because he reads really fast. I don't know. But in non-jest, our AI, which is Holly, and we'll talk about all that, is the only consumer-facing AI that's available today for a subscription. In other words, when you subscribe to Trade Ideas, you get access to artificial intelligence, which basically has been programmed to be a successful human investor. And we'll talk about that some more. All you have to do is go to the homepage, www.trade-ideas.com, and there you will see a lot of this information. I will come back to it so that you can see that this is the open door. This is the way that we recommend you walk through to interpret market information. And again, we would not be growing as fast as we do if the technology did not do what I'm about to show you when I demonstrate the tech. You can get started in less than 3 minutes. You download and install it, log in with your Facebook or Twitter for delayed data or for the demo version, and you're ready to go. Our AI, whoops, sorry about that. Where did I go? Okay, our AI looks like this, and I'll show it to everybody. But what happens is you see signals as they happen, and when you see them, the AI tells you this is the entry price, this is the exit price, this is what I suggest you do, and you kind of get to see what it's been doing all day on all the strategies that it's suggesting. So it's like you're watching Tiger Woods play golf, and you're trying to imitate Tiger, except it's not as hard as golf, because he's doing exactly what you need to do for you. And the AI works in both directions. It'll find great short opportunities, and it'll find great long opportunities, and you do it over and over again. The alpha that's being generated right now, and if you look at this stock, CLRB, this was from a while ago, but the moves that are happening are incredible moves, and the key is take your profits, because they retrace back very quickly. But the fact that they're there, this is the reason why you are here. This is what you need to take advantage of. And there isn't a magical formula that all of a sudden is going to be able to give it to you. So I'm going to minimize this part, and I'm going to kind of jump right into the technology. Let's make sure, Steve, that everyone can still see my screen and see what I'm showing you.
Yep, I see you got a channel up there, and I hear you.
Okay, perfect. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Trade Ideas Pro. This is an idea generation browser, or the idea generation gateway. We present to you data in a way that things that you literally must start to watch are happening right now. Look at what happened today in this stock. Okay, so a lot of people are going to want to do this thing, Steve, where they ask, why? And when I say zip your fly, nobody likes that, Steve. How come? Is my mic still working? Steve, is my mic still working? Hello?
Yeah, Dan, your mic's fine. I don't know.
Okay, sorry about that. Okay, I just want to make sure because Steve was quiet and I didn't know if perhaps my mic had gone off. So thank you, Scott. Okay, so why is not the important thing, because things are kind of happening quickly. This is a 5-minute bar, but notice it was not like this is a day. So this stock went up 424% today. How could this have possibly happened? You might ask yourself. I am happy to tell you. The answer to this question relies in physics. The physics of momentum, which happen to have very little to do with magic and a lot to do with basics. So every stock has a float. A float is how many shares are available to be traded by the public. In other words, if I wanted to buy all of the shares, I would have 1.5 million shares to buy. Today, 16 million shares in MYOS were traded. Okay? When that happens, a lot of momentum. This is like, imagine the tsunami, the tidal wave in 2004. But the beauty of it, Steve, and again, this is what I want to point out. People will think or say to themselves, oh, we couldn't have caught that because it must have happened so fast. No. Look at this thing. Starts at 1:30, 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, pulled back, 147, 35, 45, 50, 172. So by the time it was 9 o'clock, it had just started thinking about 3, which was, from 138 to 270. That's 100%. So that's when people say to themselves, no, it surely can't go up anymore. But look what it did the whole day, just nice, steady sine waves. This is what you are here for. And there isn't magic to it. You just have to be able to see the data when it starts to happening. So how do we bring this to you? Well, we have designed windows called the eyes or Sarah Profit or the trend change lubricant that are part of our technology that focus specifically on when a stock starts to behave in this unusual way. Here we have what's called the percentage of float traded. So all of these stocks were trading serious volume related to their float. This gives us an advantage over other people. You know, there's so many people out there in the financial space, Steve. Many of them are looking for the magic indicator. Is it the Kelter channel? Is it the Bollinger Band? And dare I say it, is it even some, you know, candlestick pattern? Let's not forget, candlesticks, as good as they are in terms of being descriptive, they are a 1,000-year-old tool that descriptive, yes, predictive, no. That's the difference. Descriptive, they're awesome, and I use them as well, and we will even show you how we have a full candlestick pattern recognition engine. But we are kind of jumping levels here. We're going to another place where to catch the MYOSs, you have to really be dialed into the pulse of the combination of momentum, a certain type of thing, a certain type of float, and this is where you want to be right now. Let me just compare this to favorite. So look, Steve, nothing wrong with Netflix, except, you know, to move 0.5%, it is 61 cents, and it's a $130 stock. So the question is, if you're a relatively small investor, where, Steve, could you put your money that works better for you, Netflix or MYOS? I mean, you know, you can't compare the two, but people don't realize that you have to, because while the Twitter universe is focused on Apple, you know, at $119, and Facebook, you know, DFFN just moved, you know, 300%. It went as high as 15, and then traded all the way to 6, which, by the way, is still kind of pretty high up compared to where it was. You know, when I got into it at 399, which is like right here. Look, this is my entry. So the question is, where are you going to find these names? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk to you about some names you really need to look at. Okay, so here let's take a quick look. So one of the things that we like to see at Trade Ideas is when stocks start what's called like a visible behavioral shift. So here's a company, they make plastics, probably some Chinese company, it doesn't really matter. The point is, from the behavior analysis standpoint, something exciting was happening, didn't work out, terrible news, news digested, catalyst. You can say to yourself, well, maybe it's done. But what you have to understand is when you have a float of just 4.5 million, whereas your typical, you know, stock that people know about, your Cisco has a float of 5 billion. I mean, it's almost like, Steve, a different species. A Cisco and that other stock cannot mate and reproduce offspring that reproduces. Too much Discovery Channel, perhaps? I'm not sure. Okay. Again, look at this. PULM, plum matrix. And again, we're just noticing. See, we started to notice something. See, right here on this graph, it's almost invisible still, but look at the potential that we're trying to catch. What if this retraces from 66 cents, possibly back to $2.36, like it's looking like something could be happening? This is what's on our radar, and what I do with our software is then I set an alert where I see a clear entry, and I say, clear the way. And it's a simple 1-2. Notice that my charts are not dirtied up with any indicators. The cleaner you see the data, the better the data responds to you and the better you respond to it. I'm going to also show you how you can use our channel bar, which is something that's completely set up for you without you needing to even do anything. Okay, but let's just quickly look at some of the, what does it look like when a stock starts to behave in the way that you want it to behave? Okay, here's another one, Dexter Surgical. This is one that I'm also in, and you could, and I'll show that from from the PowerPoint, but specifically look at the percentages that we're looking to catch. Look at this. From $1 to $2 in 2 days on 9 million shares. Whoa.
Dan, is trading these stocks under $2 or $1 any more expensive in terms of commissions?
No, not at all.
Okay, that was
Not
a
at all.
question. I just wanted to clarify that.
Yeah, no, not at all. And consider their brokerages. That's a great question, and I'm glad that was brought up. Consider for a minute, Steve, that there's brokerages now, like Robinhood, for example, where you don't even need to pay commissions. They're so interested in just your account balance that you can trade for free. Imagine having this data and trading through Robinhood on your phone. And I think they'll have a website at some point when they figure out how people actually invest.
They make their money on the other side. They make their money by selling order flow to the big houses, so they don't charge the customer.
Right. So notice how we have all these little slight little I don't want to say, Steve, unseen, but we have all of this technology kind of condensed in a place where you really start to understand why it's done this way. So here we have a graph called the position in 10-day range, and it's pegged to 100, which means that every stock that's going to be in this type of environment is going to be at its 10-day high. Okay, so we're going to go and look at this one, like ENPH, and we're going to be like, oh my goodness, this looks, Steve, look how amazing this looks. If it can go above this high, that means there's real momentum. And I literally say it just like that.
Yeah, it's up to us to identify the pivot points on these charts. So what we're doing is serving up future trade opportunities that could come to us in a day or two later, which is fine, rather than chasing our tail in real time, trying to find the blinking light that I should trade next. Yeah. You know, using these price alerts in a, whether it's during the market or after the market, when you're having a beer and you're in a more mellow mood, we're setting up scenarios to be served to us. So 2 or 3 days down the road, a couple of these might pop up, and you're like, oh, yeah, I really like this one. What's the market doing? Let me log into my account.
Steve, since people here aren't as familiar with trade ideas, maybe I want to make sure they understand that what I'm doing here is I'm not putting a trend line, although it looks like that, right? What I'm doing is I'm creating what's called a visual alert. In other words, I'm telling the computer, alert me in real time, whether it's SMS, text, or in front of the computer, when ENPH crosses the 151 mark, because to me that means real demand. So every time you've seen me do that, here's another example. Notice how, again, the Sarah profit list is kind of dialed into this behavioral change, and it doesn't always work, which is why as investors you have to always be ready to get out, right? But there is potential, and again, when the float is the right way, it doesn't take a lot. It takes, this is still what I would call it, 125,000 shares, Phil, Steve. This is like pre-news, right? If something was really happening, if there was a real catalyst, I mean, you could see this breakout of 3, and then, I mean, look at the potential. Look at where it came from. So start to kind of realize, look at this, the longer-term story, from 4 to 28 cents to 3. I mean, this is possibly building a longer-term support. So I really will focus on this. And by focusing, I mean just create. Actually, I'm going to do this. This is the real number. And I'm going to call this.
Yeah, again, you got to put your trader's hat on and identify some levels of interest that are pivot levels.
In fact, I mean, you can get as specific as you want. You can grab these if I'm doing it well. I forgot I was showing the crosshairs. So you can grab these alerts, let me show you, and you can reset them anywhere you want. So if I wanted to, like, really, the near term peak break would be 199. But if I wanted to have more insurance, I would say it's right here, 210. That covers the area from October. Now you're hunting above this area, Steve, you're hunting the 3. I mean, that's how I would look at it, especially on a closing basis, because you're kind of back in this area. So, if anything else, right, write down some of these symbols, because look, we're showing you data that you're most likely not going to be seeing somewhere else. Okay, here's another one, CCL, China Ceramics. Look at this print. It's kind of like this move, which you would have wanted to have from 215 to 330, you know, and hopefully take some profits. Just like in this move that happened from 248 to 392. People, Steve, often kind of jump forward and they're like, I want to be in this one, the one that went from 209 to 6. But it doesn't always happen that way. And retracements are great opportunities and indications. They tell you a couple of things. Number one, buy and hold is bullshit. It just doesn't work. And you will never, ever, ever, unless you, again, can it work? Of course. But as a strategy, you can't randomly throw a dart at crap and hope that crap turns into a good stock, because that's what buy and hold is. And then people often forget about the concept of relativity as it relates to valuations and investing. The reason why the market's so complex and dynamic is because everything is relative to you. There can be 100 people and completely 100 different price levels for the same stock, and they all have different support and resistance. So we identify these kinds of moves, the trend change lubricant kind of moves, where things that were going down really start exhibiting a pattern where they're changing gears to the upside. You know, big moves to the upside. So that's really the crux. And the important thing is that you can find it very quickly. So you're not sitting there searching and hoping that you'll be in the next one. Look at this beautiful, Steve, look at this beautiful breakout. I mean, just a very nice looking break through the range. So you want to have this stock on your radar. And again, look at what's possible, right? If you're catching the right move. And it's not easy, but certainly look right here, from 2 to 4, several months. The technology, there's no formula. There isn't a candlestick pattern. There isn't an indicator. There isn't a quant algo that can predict tomorrow. That does not happen. What you need is the best way to view the data as it's happening. And there's only one solution for that. It's trade ideas. We work with everybody. We have tons of partners in the industry. But the key is to be able to dial in, to focus in on the things that are moving. So let me quickly move a couple of these windows away and kind of take you through a tour of the Trade Ideas channel bar. So let's say, you know, you didn't want to sign anything up, okay, nothing at all. Well, you can see what's going on after hours, okay? We have an after hours channel, so you can see what's changing in pre-market, what's changing in post-market, to the upside, to the downside, and notice our data points. Change post-market. You can sort by everything. So you didn't have to configure anything. You can just sort. Here's a stock that's having a huge move to the upside, and it's a genomic stock, so it's a big, those, you know, the names. But here it is, up 38%. And again, it's coming to you. You're not trying to chase it. It's coming to you. One of the things that differentiates Trade Ideas data is the social media component of it. And what we mean by that is that we connect to StockTwits directly at the API level, and we are monitoring all social media on StockTwits, which is geared towards stocks, in real time. So we do this, and as a result, we can pinpoint when stocks are behaving in an unusual way. So here, RMVA. This is another beautiful example of percentages, and this is another one that I'm going to tell you. You're here, 44 of you are here. Write RNVA down. Could be the one lesson for your career. So here's a stock that just really started to move from 9 cents to 12. Now that seems like nothing, and it is kind of nothing, but something's going on here. We noticed it because it came in on one of our search windows, like a Hunter Alpha Predator window, and it's continuing. You know, it's from 9 to 12 is kind of a big move, and then when you kind of move back, look at what's going on. So imagine, you know, you're talking about 300% to here, and once you get into this area, which it was 6 months ago, I mean, if you get any kind of redemption at all, and we don't know, but the percentage opportunity between here and even here is 100. And what is your risk? 9 cents? I would say with 9 cents risk, how can you not be in $1 billion shares of this? I'm sort of joking, but you know exactly what the downside is. So that's the highlight of my lesson. There have never been more incredible opportunities, and we see them in ways that other people just don't have access to see, and we alert ourselves to critical price levels. So you never miss something that happens. Okay? And the lesson of the day, right, is take profits. Look what happens. Well, get it while the getting is good. And here's another example of something that you want to be aware of so that you can take advantage. Look, ETRM, the same exact concept on the float side, 15 million shares, went from $3 to 30 in 1, 2, 3, in 4 days. Now, again, stop brainwashing yourself and saying, oh, that's crazy. Sure, it's crazy, right? But look at this. How crazy was this from $5 to 100? This is where life careers are made. Wealth is made. You want to be aware of this. This is where you want to be, where you want to see, you want to be visible, you want to take advantage of it. And again, it's not always easy, but we give you the ability to see and shape the data the right way.
Where would you put an alert on that NVAX right there? Because there's a question. How do we know where the critical levels are going to be? Well, you've got to learn to read charts a little bit. It's not going to do everything for you. It's presenting you with ideas, but you still got to have your trader's hat on and be able to look at a level and say, what's the level that the short sellers probably don't want to lose? And then that's usually the level that we can mark up. So we're not necessarily giving you the exact levels at which that's going to be triggered, but we're showing you highlights of probable stocks that are setting up with volume and price action. And if we're not in it and we want to be alerted to it, it's basically up to us to look at the price levels, look at the footprints in the sand, and draw a line and say, you know, this is probably where the shorts would throw in the towel, and I'm going to put my price alert at this particular spot. So where would you put a price alert on that particular NVAX right there, just as an example down there?
Steve, I'll give you a couple, and I love what you were saying, because first, let's start with the very, very basics on this one. Notice, no indicators. Why? Because science tells us your eyes already know everything, okay? Well, clearly, if it's going to start running past here, it's in what's called, we describe this as filling the void. So let me explain quickly what filling the void means. So see, some bad news happened after this day at 8:43, and the stock gapped down to 123. I mean, destruction.
Which is one of the great reasons, as a general rule, I do not like to take home biotech and pharmaceutical stocks overnight.
Correct. And that's a good reason to avoid that, 100%. So it gaps down this much overnight, but if you were trading it this day, this would have been a good day to buy it, because literally from there, over the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 days, it went up 100%.
But so, that's where the supply came in,
yeah,
right there.
So, but then the people who didn't get a chance to get out, you know, who didn't panic were like, okay, I'm out of this thing. And they started just continuing to get out, and there's ebb and flow. So, but now we're getting right to your question. So this is the one where you want to be in here. I know it looks far away, but you don't know how it'll get there, but you want to be in at this price level. Now, the next level, this is what I call feeling it out. Okay, so I am one of the biggest proponents of what's called feeler trades. Feeler trades, Steve, will you please go patent that real quick? Feeler trades are...
I call it getting on the radar. A radar trade.
Feeler.
I'm just messing with you.
So what we do here, and again, Steve and I both have done this, all professionals do this, just to give you a little bit of science, if you want to learn a subject well and memorize it well, one of the ways that you do it is you create mnemonics. Okay, mnemonics are like toeholds for your mind to be able to recall the information. In stocks, what I'm doing here with these price levels, I'm creating mnemonics. When this comes in, I know that the next level is 20 cents away, so I don't want to load up because you don't know what's going to happen here. You know, it got here before and then somebody unloaded it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get into, like, let's say 500 shares and just see what it'll do. Will it carry over? If it gets over this, I will be buying more. So take a look at this concept. It's a three-legged. Now, more. And again, no indicators, just over. This is one level of visual resistance. This is a bigger level. And then from 172, I mean, here it's like you press, see what happens, and if it breaks out again, you press again. It's kind of like a blackjack strategy, you know, Steve.
Yeah, lay the odds. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's proper speculation. But the key to realize, and the big, like, you know, there's so many, in relationship to golf, for example, Steve, one of the biggest amateur mistakes is golf is called going over the top. I mean, you are, I'm sure, as a golfer, familiar with that term. It's funny
Yes.
because verbally, it's the same problem with amateur investors. Amateur investors tend to go over the top, except what that means in investing terms is they commit too much to the first trade, meaning like they need to be right now. Whereas pros who know that there's an ebb and flow, they're like, let me put a feeler on, let me add a little bit, okay, I'm doing good. And now all of a sudden at 254, you're in the right place. You're
scaling in under that last one, and then you know, in a perfect world, when the price action really starts to rip, then you start to scale out. Then you become a seller. You've got your move. Now you've got what they want, and you positioned yourself early to get it.
And
so
here,
go ahead.
You could have a gap up event that literally takes you back to this level. That's the other thing. That's the other part of being in the void. Why it's a very psychologically interesting place to be. So,
and there's nothing wrong with selling little chunks along the way, selling a third on the first day, and then letting the other 2/3 ride, and then maybe selling a second third, and then you got that 1/3 as a trailer that might work for a trend.
Absolutely. And Steve, you know, Barry in our trading room, he does that all the time. You know, his style is much more very quick profit taking. So that's the other important thing when you work with trade ideas is that it's not just, I mean, again, there's going to be no magic indicator. What you've got to learn is what to look for, what to see, and then react. And the key really is always post-trade. Once you're in, it's what do you do then? That's where we really help, because for every single stock, we have what's called a smart stop. So let me show you why this is important. And this will kind of be, I think, a good conclusion to the introduction to what we do. I'm going to get rid of this, and I'm going to put this in here, just kind of shrink it up so we can see. So one of the things, you know, Steve, we didn't even explain what trade ideas is fundamentally, but what we do is we connect to the real-time exchange data through an aggregator. Then we sort and compile all of that data ourselves. So we have a huge data mining facility in San Diego, tons and tons of server racks where we watch every single stock and keep statistical baselines on every single stock. So we know that based on how a stock is trading today vis-a-vis its trading the last year and month and all, where its behavior is. So for example, a stock like, let's say, Facebook. Facebook has a smart stop of 75 cents, meaning that if you got into it, you ought to, in general, give it 75 cents of wiggle room so that it doesn't statistically just blow you out, because it tends to randomly move in any direction 75 cents over a given period of time.
Yeah,
Let's
that's
look
not
at
an arbitrary number. That's a number that's been computed based on the single stocks, high-low ranges, volatility, average true range,
oh,
whatever you want to call it, mean reversions, standard deviations. There's a lot of stuff that goes into that smart stop. It's not just a number pulled out of thin air.
right. Well, take TWLO is a number like 34 cents based on how it's been trading, its volatility. So whenever you get into something, that's the whole thing. There is a number for you. What, 25, fit? A lot of these have been behaving in a similar way. But, the key is for everything, there is yet another type of behavior. 40 cents on Microsoft, Amazon, 75. And Amazon's very expensive. 27 cents for AKO, so not 25, but 27. So this is a very viable and tactile advantage. So anytime like I pull up any stock I want to get into, whether it's Intel, Ford, or Applied Material, I know what my risk tolerance is, right at that moment.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something that no one else provides out there. So a whole reason to have the Trade Ideas data. So let me go back to the presentation real quick. I'm going to finish up the webinar, just going over about what we do. We're a subscription as a service business. Our artificial intelligence costs $5.76 per day, or $1,888 per year. It tells you what to do and you follow it. We on-ramp everybody with a one-on-one training session. Steve does some of them, our Director of Education, Jamie Hodge, Andy Lindloff. I've done them, Brad Williams, all the people that really want you to succeed, we do it. And the trading room is free. You really cannot beat that. We want to get you signed up for our Trade Ideas Trade of the Week. Let me real quick. Let me show you I'll give you what this one is. The Trade Ideas Trade of the Week is true because it looks like it's getting ready to break out, and it has a very high short float, and the shorts are feeling some pain. So this really could start going. This is our pick of the week that we gave out on Monday, and these are much longer term type picks.
Yes, these are more position trade types. These are not the day trading scalp of the week. It's the trade position of the week to try and really let some ideas sit that we try to locate from our trend changing setups that look like they have some room to run and some time to run. So we mark up an email that comes to your inbox every morning on Monday morning with the reasoning behind the trades, the trigger, and the suggested stop, and a couple of charts as well. So that was the reason this week a stock that's at close to 52-week highs but still has a giant short float contingency could, really make for some fireworks if everything lines up right on that one.
Yeah, we're very easy to reach, and we're the most active social media fintech company. You can follow us on Twitter at TradeIdeas1. That's mine. At our corporate is at TradeIdeas, and Steve is at TodayTrader. You can email us at info@trade-ideas.com, where this is my direct email, and this is Steve's mobile phone. He likes to calls at dinner time or just after 9 p.m. Is preferable.
Why don't you back up a slide? I just want to make sure real quickly that the people see how they can get the trade of the week. Sign up now at trade-ideas.com/free. That's the way that's going to get you to the page directly to get into the system, so where you'll get the email of Trade of the Week each week. We hope to see if you guys sign up for that. It's free, obviously, but free is a good price. But that's the address you'll want to go to take advantage of what we've just been talking about.
Yeah. We really appreciate everybody taking their time and listening to us. Come check out the trading room again. You do not have to pay. It's really good to just start and take a look. You'll be very pleasantly surprised, and we hope you enjoy the journey. good luck out there. The market has never been better, so enjoy it. Steve, thank you once again for helping me, and Scott, thank you as well, and we hope to see you guys in the Trade Ideas community.
You are welcome. Drop by the free trading room at any time as well. Also a great way to kind of see what's going on.
Okay, everybody, take care. Thank you very much.
Sounds good. Thank you.